योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Hi, welcome to the 19th session in our course HRM for non-HR managers. In the previous session, we have discussed career planning and succession management. In this session, we will discuss what is employee separation. Further, we will present voluntary and involuntary separation types. Simultaneously, we will also discuss the calculation of employees' dues at the time of separation. Employee separation marks the end of their tenure with the organization. The employees may leave their current organization on their own for reasons like better prospects. Sometimes the organization asks the employee to leave because of non-performance or indiscipline. Sometimes loss of life or ability to perform their job marks an abrupt end to the employee's tenure. When the separation occurs, formalities and documentation have to be completed. Claims may have to be settled and legal compliance may be involved. If separation is not managed well, employees may leave with negative experience which may affect whether they will recommend the organization to others in future. If you remember, in the session on recruitment, we considered employee referrals as a source of recruitment. There may also be court cases if the employee perceives unfair treatment during separation. Hence, management of employee separation is an important HR function. As we just saw, separation may be involuntary and voluntary. Voluntary separation refers to the departure of an employee because of his or her own desire. Involuntary separation occurs without the volition of the employee. We discuss its details next. Involuntary separation means separation where the employee is not leaving by his or her own volition. For example, when the management decides to discontinue its relationship with an employee for reasons such as poor performance, indiscipline or reducing the number of jobs. Compulsory retirement is offered by the organizations which are reducing the number of jobs. That means, after retiring excess employees, the vacancies will not be filled again. Generally, the criteria used for deciding the retirees include those who have completed specific number of years of their service in the same organization or the age around 50 years. These criteria may change from case to case. In an example of how compulsory retirement is used as per Times of India report dated April 28, 2017, the Halol plant of General Motors in Gujarat was closed and the management has offered to give rupees 8 to 10 lakh to each employees. They have around 600 employees who were working with them under a voluntary retirement scheme as the plant stopped its production. Dismissal or termination of the workers. As per the Hindustan Times report on the case of violence in Maruti Suzuki car manufacturing plant in Manesar, that the incident left a senior HR executive dead and nearly 100 other officials injured, which culminated with the conviction of 31 workers and acquittal of 117 of their colleagues in July 2012. The incident was reportedly triggered by a disciplinary issue with an employee. The unions called for his reinstatement immediately, besides making several other demands including same salary for contract workers as permanent employees, which were not heeded to by the management. Due to the violence, the management decided to dismiss the culprits involved in this case. In this type of cases, employee is not eligible to get the benefits of gratuity and leave encashment. In case of dismissal, down or right sizing and layoffs, employee settlement of dues will be as the company's policy. We will now present the forms of voluntary separation. Opposite of involuntary separation, in case of voluntary separation, the employee exists with his or her own choice. Under this type of separation, the employee resigns or opts for a voluntary retirement scheme, which may be a few years earlier than the default date of retirement. It is important that layoff is not a voluntary form of separation, but if an employee chooses early retirement and avails of benefits of early retirement, often called golden parachute or golden handshake, where employer offers incentive to the employees to retire early. It is voluntary form of separation. Employees resign because they find a better job in terms of pay, prospects, purpose, work-life balance, convenience, work condition or similar reasons. Sometimes reasons like dissatisfaction with the job or conflict with the supervisor also cause resignations. Most organizations have policies which require the employee to serve a notice period when they tender their resignation. Notice period allows the organization to find a replacement and make arrangements such as training the replacement employee under the guidance of employee who has resigned. Formalities, documentation and settlement of dues on both sides can also be carried out effectively when the employee serves the notice period. In some cases, when an employee wishes to resign with immediate effect, the salary of the notice period may be deducted from their dues. But if for some reason, if the employer believes that it is not desirable to have the employee coming to work after resignation, then the resignation may be accepted with immediate effect. If the separation is occurring amicably and if employee needs to leave immediately, they may persuade the employer to waive the requirement of the notice period. Whether voluntary or involuntary separation of employees creates vacancies in the organization. Thus, employee separation completes the cycle of HR function which, as you remember, starts with HR planning and recruitment. In an ongoing organization, therefore, recruitment and separation create turnover of employees. Employee turnover, also known as employee churn, is the overall turnover in an organization's staff as existing employees leave and new ones are hired. The employee turnover rate is usually calculated as the percentage of employees leaving the company over some specified time period, usually a month or a year. Although some staff turnover is inevitable, a high rate of turnover is costly. Recruitment, hiring and training all require a financial outlay and a new hire may not be immediately productive in terms of creating profit. Depending on the job and other factors, it can take a year or more for the organization to break even on a hire and longer before any return on investment is realized. an unusually high rate of employee turnover is also considered indicative of problems within the organization. Uncompetitive pay scales, micromanagement, ineffective human resource management practices and unreasonable expectations can all lead to unacceptable levels of staff turnover. Employee turnover is beneficial in several ways. When current employees leave and new employees join, the organization may gain more updated KSA, which stands for knowledge, skills and abilities, and fresh ideas and perspective. It is also relatively easier to enlist new employees in the change management process. Compensation and benefit negotiation with new employees allows the organization to achieve a better balance between the cost and benefit of hiring. Turnover also allows the organization to part with undesirable persons or poor performers and helps create a more desirable culture in the organization. Looking at the pros and cons of employee turnover, organizations welcome some level of employee turnover, but would not like it to exceed beyond a limit. Usually, the average employee turnover rates at industry level are available to the organizations, and HR managers try to keep their retention rates stronger against turnover rates. An employee turnover rate is calculated as number of employees separated divided by average number of employees into 100. If a company has 200 employees at the start of 2018 and during the year 20 employees leave and 10 new employees join, the annual turnover rate will be calculated in 3 steps. Number 1, number of separating employees 20 minus 10 equals to 10. Number 2, average annual workforce 200 plus 190 divided by 2 equals to 195. And number 3, turnover rate as per the formula we showed, 20 divided by 195 into 100 equals to 10%. This rate is calculated at the organization as well as department or other unit level. It is also calculated for separations within 1 month of joining, a quarter of joining and so on. It is regularly tracked by effective managers. We mentioned dues payable to the separating employee. In the previous sessions, we have also discussed the legal provisions regarding gratuity, provident fund and other benefits which an employee gets at the end of tenure. As discussed in the beginning of the session, how much is due to the employee depends on the way employee separates from the organization. We discussed different scenarios and how much the employee will get. In the case of resignation and retirement, the employee can claim gratuity, pension and leave encashment. Payment of gratuity depends on the factors as presented next. Number 1, whether the employee is resigning or retiring. As per the government pensioners portal, retirement gratuity is calculated like this: 1/4 into 1 month's basic pay plus dearness allowance drawn before retirement for each completed 6 monthly period of qualifying service. The retirement gratuity payable is 16 times the basic pay, subject to maximum of ₹20 lakh. For the case of resignation, we will show the calculation of gratuity using a formula. Number 2, last drawn salary for limited companies and government employees dearness allowance is added to the basic salary to calculate gratuity. Number 3, number of years of service completed. The employee should have completed minimum 5 years of service in the same organization. Here we need to consider 3 more points. A, for the purpose of gratuity, if an employee completes 6 months, 1 year is considered to be completed. Any tenure of less than 6 months in a year is not considered. B, in the case of death or disability of the employee, the gratuity can be paid even if 5 years have not been completed at the time of death or disability. Next, number 4, whether the employee is covered by the Payment of Gratuity Act. This provision is for all the employees who are not working for the government. Here also we need to understand few points. A, if the organization employs at least 10 persons on any one day in a preceding 12 months will be covered under the Act. B, once an organization comes under the purview of the Act, then it will then remain covered if the number falls below 10 employees. C, the formula for calculating the gratuity is 15 days into last drawn salary into years of working divided by 26. Consider the case of Rahul, whose last drawn salary basic pay is rupees 60,000 per month, and he has worked with ABC Limited for 10 years and 8 months. In this case, using the rules and the formula, his gratuity will be calculated as 15 into 60,000 into 11 divided by 26, that is rupees 3.81 lakh. You would have noted that since he has worked for more than 6 months in his service, his gratuity is calculated for 11 years. Even if the organization is not covered under the Gratuity Act, there is no restriction on paying gratuity to its employees. The formula for calculating gratuity is the same as we have discussed. Leave encashment is due to an employee according to the Factories Act and Shops and Establishment Act. Employees are eligible to get the pay for annual earned leave which they have not enjoyed. For the government employees, the formula to calculate leave encashment is basic salary plus DA divided by 30 into number of days leave to encash. For employees other than the government, the formula is basic salary divided by 30 days into number of days leave to encash. Next is Employee Provident Fund, which is governed by the Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. The scheme is managed by the Employees Provident Fund Organization EPFO. The law covers the establishments in which 20 or more persons are employed. Under the EPF scheme, an employee has to pay a certain contribution towards the scheme and an equal contribution is paid by the employer. Number 1, contribution by employer and employee. As per the law, the contribution paid by the employer is 12% of basic wages plus dearness allowance plus retaining allowance. An equal contribution is payable by the employee also. For most employees of the private sector, it is the basic salary on which the contribution is calculated. For example, if the monthly basic salary is rupees 15,000, the employee contribution towards their EPF would be 1,800 per month, which is 12% of basic pay. Additionally, 1,800 will also be contributed by employer each month to the provident fund. Out of employer's contribution, 8.33% will be diverted to employees' pension scheme. As per law, 15,000 is the maximum limit for PF. If the basic pay is less than rupees 15,000, then 8.33% of that full amount will go into employee pension scheme. The balance will be retained in the EPF scheme. On retirement, the employee will get his full share plus balance of employer's share retained to his credit in EPF account. Number 2, voluntary provident fund means the employee can voluntarily pay higher contribution above the statutory rate of 12% of basic pay. However, the employer does not have to match such voluntary contribution. Employee can claim gratuity and leave encashment from the company after voluntary separation, and the PF should be claimed separately from the PF office at the time of retirement or at the age of 55. Knowledge about the dues of an employee at the time of separation is important. Sometimes the calculation of separation benefits can even help employee decide whether and when to quit. Consider an example. Sejal Daftari has been your colleague at LMN company for 4.5 years and she was to leave due to her dispute with her supervisor. One day when she was very upset, she came to you and said that she was going to her boss to resign. You took out a piece of paper and began to ask her some details. Her last salary drawn was rupees 15,000 per month, out of which her basic salary was rupees 4,500. She has used all her privilege leave. She told you that another colleague, Deepak Shah, has also been thinking about leaving the organization after working for 4 years and 6 months. Deepak has the same pay as Sejal and he also has 10 days of leave to encash. Deepak is resigning because he has a better job offer. Using this calculation, you ask Sejal that she will only get provident fund if she quit now. If she waited just 1 month, she could get rupees 12,981 as Deepak is getting, and that is just one monetary gain. When you asked Sejal if she had another job in hand, she said she did not have one. If you were her trusted colleague, what would you suggest? With this, we come to the end of the 19th session in which we discussed employee separation, which included voluntary and involuntary types. We also saw the calculation of major heads of employee dues, which include gratuity, leave encashment and provident fund. We will see you soon for the next session. Until then, thank you for joining us and goodbye.